I'm Wendy Capewell, an experienced counsellor and psychotherapist. I work with so many people who feel that they're the only ones struggling with the issues that they share with me. Possibly, like many of you, they feel so alone. And so the aim of this podcast is to talk to guests who have their own stories to share, their experience of the struggles that they've been through, or maybe they're continuing to live with, offering their insights as well as their inspiring journey. So let me introduce my guest. I'm going to introduce Elizabeth Payce, and I met her on LinkedIn. I meet some lovely people on LinkedIn, make some great connections, and Elizabeth's one of them. And she is an empowerment coach, and her business is Payce Your Change, which is a lovely play on your surname as well. I love it. Elizabeth, tell us more about you.
Oh, thank you, Wendy. And it's an absolute pleasure to be here. So thank you for giving me the space. So essentially, I am a qualified personal performance coach, and I also took a NLP practitioner diploma, and I've also qualified as a mentor. So along as we all say with life experience, I've come to this point in my life, and it is, I have to say, at midlife. I'm in my, I would say, mid-50s almost, that it is the time when I went, you know what, I want to do something for me. I've got all these wonderful skills. I love coaching. It's so empowering. I love that word because it is about showing up and knowing that deep within you have got the resources within you to make the changes that you need to do. You just sometimes need to be sort of supported and almost given permission, which I think it's because we live in a society where we look to others to, I think, build our own identity. And I think we need to dig within and actually know that we've got what it takes within us to do what we need to do. So my whole focus is on about moving from a place of fear, of frustration, being stuck or blocked. It's on the cusp, I would say, of a place where I would say, every woman around this age bracket saying, I've done so much and yet I am so invisible. I feel I have very little meaning in my own life. I don't know where I appear in my life. And I don't even give myself permission to appear in my life. So it's you've probably heard this, Wendy.
Why do you think it is round midlife? What is it for women?
I believe from my own experiences and from the conversations I've had that you get to this point where you have had so much experience. So you may have been married or in a long-term relationship. You may have had children, and those children are probably likely now to have grown up and left home. You have probably been in a career of some description, and that may be feeling not really supporting what you want or how you feel. So it doesn't really connect with you. It becomes just more of a process to earn money, and it's not giving you pleasure or fulfillment. And you have probably been in a position where you've been caring for others, either through your own experiences, as I say, looking after children, grandchildren, older family, or other relatives. And as things change, so people unfortunately pass away, people grow up, children don't need you as much to be in that responsible role to care for them and to guide them, then you start to lose what it is that gives you that drive and purpose.
Do you think it leaves a void? Is that what you're saying? All of those things just leave a void, and then it's suddenly you're so busy, as you say, doing all those things, and then suddenly it's, well, hold on a minute. There's a void in my life, and where am I? Who am I? What am I? Is that what your sense?
I would say absolutely. So you could probably identify that you probably sort of have been a mother of a young child, and your daughter's grown up. So it's you're still there, but it's a different role. You may have had a relationship, sort of married, moved out of that relationship, sort of separation and divorce, or through loss. So all of these things, you have a role to play. So it's mother, wife, daughter, friend, reliable friend, colleague. And this is like, those are sort of roles that get sort of like pigeonholed to us. So we appear in a work setting and it's going to be, oh, it's Wendy. This is how we see Wendy in this work setting. And then perhaps your daughter will see you as mum. And this is how your daughter sees you, and your parents will still call you Wendy. I was always, my parents always called me Elizabeth, but my family and friends called me Liz. And it was like, that I sort of identity, sort of being called Elizabeth was what they identified me as, their daughter, never Liz. They hated it. So yes, it's how people see you and label you, and you accept those labels.
Okay.
And it's really getting out of the way of saying, this is a label given to me, but I now choose to actually remove that label. So we want to.
Okay, sorry. And I get there's choosing, but I guess there's a step before that where there is that, what is it? What am I? Who am I? Because and how do I do it? I want something different, but I don't know what.
It's a tricky one, in a sense that people recognize that they are not happy. There's things out of kilter. They're not aligning. And I do this through my work in terms of looking at values. And so often you have a value set which you think is yours, makes you who you are. But sometimes you then go, actually, these values here are not aligning to these values here. So that's where you get the conflict. And it's taking everything back and saying, okay, what are your values? What really resonates with you? How are you showing up? What aligns with you? So I think it's really the question of, when you feel that there is a disconnect, that it's that sign that things actually do need to change. Unfortunately, though, Wendy, it's a really difficult one to call, because we're in a society where you're expected to show up come what may, and you just sort of keep soldering on through. So you probably get to hear this as well. Oh, if I get through to the end of the month, get through this project, get through the school holidays, everything will be fine because I've got something planned, something else is on the horizon. And then you get to that point and then you're back in, oh, but then something else has to happen. And you're never going to give yourself permission to actually step out and say, I need space to reflect, to reconsider and to grow myself. So it is that challenge to actually say, I would say, especially to women, it's okay to say, actually, I need space for myself. Please do make space for yourself, because it would be wonderful that you could get through your life and then look back and think, I am a wonderful woman and I have had the most fantastic life. So life with no regrets. Because I think there's probably a lot of women who give so much of themselves, but their main regret most likely could be that they haven't done things that fulfill themselves. And so they get to the end of their life and think, well, I have been a good mother, I have been a good daughter, sister, whatever. But it's like, those are still your labels. Who is you, and where are you, and how have you shown up for you?
And I think, and I would agree with you. And I think why I was asking, how do people know where it's at? Because I think there is that point of,
I hear it's after, I don't know what I want. I'm that confusion. I think that is the point that I see many people where, well, I just don't know. They just see that void. So I guess I was taking it just a little step back, and where brilliant that you do that. I think it's great. But there are those women who are going, but something's not right, but I don't know what it is, and I don't know what I want, or if I'm even entitled to it.
Yes.
And that's why I was asking that question, because I think, yes, it's great that you give them permission, but sometimes they don't. It's like having an itch and not quite knowing what it is and not quite sure whether to scratch it or where to scratch it.
Yes, that is a very interesting analogy. And that's the thing, the sort of the showing up, the sign that actually you're not sure, you're not clear, is a sign that it's a time to sort of step back. Well, it is about that sort of that permission that you need to give yourself. So in terms of not knowing, that's absolutely fine, because you will only get to know more about you once you're in a space that you can be with somebody that can guide you and ask you questions, because that's basically, as you know, Wendy, as a coach, working with people, the main thrust of our relationship with other people is by asking those pertinent questions. So it doesn't matter at all that you may not know where you want to go, and you may not feel that you have the choice, that you give yourself that permission. But what I would like to say to any woman, absolutely think about you, because there's only one of you. If you don't decide to do something, other people will make decisions for you. And if you're not sure, give it a try anyway. What have you got to lose? Because you may find that you actually come into a relationship with somebody like myself. I ask questions and I get you to think about those areas of your life where you have been fulfilled, but those areas of your life where you want to find more fulfillment. And we then will set a plan. And there's a fantastic tool that I use called the Wheel of Life. So it's basically identifying the different elements of your life, where you are now, where you want to be. So you actually start to vision your next big life journey, and you start to say, okay, I can start to journey, I can make small steps in one area, and then you make those steps and then you reevaluate. So it's taking one step at a time and actually giving yourself that permission to just give it a try, because what have you got to lose? Absolutely.
Yeah, and it is giving yourself permission, because there's something I ask clients quite often. Well, depending on who the client is and what they brought, of course, but who's the most important person in your life? And I hear they will go through the list and they'll list their children, their partner, their parents, their friends, the dog, the cat, the guinea pig, the goldfish. And I said, well, and where are you? And they're, well, no, I'm not. Okay. So I'm curious, why is that? And they said, well, yeah, but I'm not important. And then they'll have to remind them that if we don't put our well-being first, we can't be there for anybody else. And they'll shake their heads and go, yeah, but no, I'm not. And I go, well, but isn't that why you feel invisible? Isn't that why you don't feel heard? Is that why you feel taken for granted? Because actually you're kind of enabling that situation. And it's not being rude or unpleasant or nasty or saying, I'm going to have the last piece of cake or whatever it is. It's really self-care, isn't it?
Absolutely. Because if you don't look after yourself, who else will? And there is so much research about the importance of being kind to yourself, giving yourself space, and actually listening to yourself. So there's wonderful techniques. I'm actually a big fan of Mel Robbins. So she's got this high five habit where you look yourself in a mirror and you tell yourself that you're absolutely brilliant, and then you cement it with a high five. And it's to keep reinforcing that message to yourself, because again, so many women that I speak to find it so hard to even look themselves in the mirror. They give themselves such negative feedback, and their inner monologue is telling them that they're not valuable, they're positively worthless and useless.
Where do you think they get those messages from?
From society. That sort of, if you're not caring, if you're not a mother or a wife or a partner, daughter, friend, if you've got sort of relationships, then that is where the meaning comes from. But to be yourself, and that's my business has got the subtitle of Be Authentically You, is about what makes you authentic, what aligns you to who you really are. And that's the work on the values system that you have, to actually get to see your values and really put them at the heart of what you're doing, and to really take part in your own life and not be, as I describe it, a passenger. Because it's so easy to be on that bus and let somebody else drive your bus of life, and you're not happy with the way it's going. So you have to really say, no, out the driver's seat, this is my bus, I'm going to drive this now.
And I guess the danger that we fear, or many people fear, of being authentic is rejection. Because we feel that if we speak up, if we say, if we want to be ourselves, then there is, well, we're going to be rejected by, or yeah, we're going to be rejected by the people around us. And so to feel accepted, we often feel, I can't be authentic. And I learned that along the way, because I was an absolute past master at being a people pleaser, because I needed that sense of, I didn't feel good enough as a daughter. And so therefore I had to try harder and harder and harder to be loved and accepted. And so therefore I couldn't be authentic. I couldn't be me. And that went into other parts of my life. So there's always a risk attached, like, well, if I'm really me, will I be rejected? And I think that's where your work is so useful and so valuable, because it doesn't happen. It certainly didn't happen overnight with me, and I'm sure it doesn't with other people. I would say baby steps, but I think there is that. Okay, try it out. Where could it feel? Where could you try that? Because I think those baby steps are crucial. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. In a sense that you start to peel off the layers of the onion to actually get to the heart. And I'm a firm believer in listening to your heart, because we have become so driven by our thoughts, and thoughts are there, they come and they go, but we give so many thoughts too much credence in our lives to actually say that this is giving it weight and value when they don't. And actually, heart-centered decisions make you, I think, far more emotional and emotive, and then authentic, because it comes almost, I would say, for me, it's like that sort of leaning forward and being there, being present, and not being in my head with all that negative chatter going on and all the distraction, waiting for, I want to say this, because that's what happens. Yeah. You want to get your comments, your thoughts in. Whereas when you listen to your heart, you're far more, I find, much more relaxed, far more, I think, authentically showing up. So it's about this almost gentleness that comes through you, and the respect that people will give you. And I have to say, the energy Because when you're in an authentic space, you're working with your higher energy. And for me, that is a very positive place. And people sense that. The number of people, when I really focus on authenticity and listening to my heart, people will say, oh gosh, this is such a lovely space. And it's just something that naturally flows. So the energy flows, the conversation flows. It's really peaceful for me. And I appear in a non-threatening way, because I think sometimes people think that to be authentic, you've got to stand with your boots on and you've got to really go in sort of, I would say, kick ass, as it were. And it's actually, you might need to do that at some point. But in terms of that sort of presence, that self-awareness, it's a very gentle. But as soon as you start to give yourself that recognition, others will see it. And that's when you go from being invisible and not being heard to being that respected woman, that woman that gives space, gives love, and actually is very open to receiving and to giving.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed listening to you today, and I hope the audience has too, because I think there's some really great things in there. And I'd encourage women to contact you, because I think there is that sense of feeling invisible, that we can't be authentic, that and having that permission. I think that is so true of so many women, men too, but I think more women. What is one thing that you could suggest that people take away with themselves today?
I really like journaling. So putting pen to paper as opposed to using, say, a device. So if women out there listening, and men actually, haven't already got a journal, I would get one and a nice pen, and I would give yourself about 10 minutes in the morning to just journal what's going on in your head, just to clear out what's going on, and set an intention to how you want to show up. So I set my intention today of being peaceful. And from being peaceful, I feel I'm really receptive. So you find something that really gives you focus. And then you ask yourself, how can I show up in this way? So what do I need to do to be peaceful? And it's amazing that it will happen naturally. The universe, as it were, will give you what you desire. So that is one lovely little step of self-awareness, which I think is really valuable on the journey of self-recognition and authenticity.
Great, thank you for that. Yes, I think journaling can be really, really useful. I'm going to put all your details in the show notes so people can get in touch with you, find you on social media and so on. What's one easy way that people can get in touch with you?
Well, I use LinkedIn, as you've already said at the beginning, as the prime way of sharing information. So you will find me on LinkedIn under my name, Elizabeth Payce. And my business, as you said, is Payce Your Change, Be Authentically You. So that, I would say, find me, come in and link in. If you not on LinkedIn, I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, and you'll find me under Payce Your Change or Elizabeth Payce. It's such an unusual surname that you will inevitably find me. So I'd love people to reach out.
Yeah, I was going to say Payce is Payce.
YCE, yes.
If people would just put in the normal way of spelling Payce, they may not find you as readily. So
yes, yeah. So that's a good point, Wendy. Yes.
Thank you so much for today. I hope the listeners have enjoyed it. But thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. It's been a pleasure.
I hope you found this episode interesting as well as helpful. Do get in touch if you would like to learn more about working with me. My email address is info@wendycapewell.co.uk. Take good care of yourself Until next time.